Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the FixedOPS Mastermind podcast. Before we get into it, a word from our sponsors. Traver Connect. Two words ring true for all of us in the automotive space: the phones. When we hear those words, instantly we all sigh. Because as much change as our industry has seen, we still get an overwhelming amount of calls. No need to sigh, though. That's where a good BDC comes in handy, doesn't it? I know the team at Traver Connect personally, and these guys get it. And they can help you build your service BDC, or use their team to catch the calls you miss with their well-trained team of agents. Even have them make outbound calls and set new appointments. Give Traver Connect a call today. As they say, revenue doesn't leave a message at the beep. TraverConnect.com. Dynatron Software is the premier provider of automotive fixed operations data analytics, business intelligence, and pricing optimization. We are changing the way that automotive dealerships look at their service department profitability and revenue streams. We are laser focused on profit management for fixed operations and uncovering hidden opportunities for our clients. I can tell you I have used and currently used Dynatron software personally, and it is amazing, finding things that you would never uncover without it. DynatronSoftware.com. All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the FixedOPS Mastermind podcast. Today, we are excited to have with us Russ Hill from FixedOPS Marketing. Russ, welcome.
Dave, glad to be here. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Glad you could be with us. So, for those who do not know you, I don't know how that's possible that many could not know you, but for those who don't, give us a little background on Russ Hill and how he comes to be at FixedOPS Marketing.
Well, okay. It all started in 1968 when I got my first set of Hot Wheels. Okay. And I fell in love with cars, and it became an obsession even to this day. 1985, I started selling cars and climbed that ladder of success, and had a wonderful mentor, which is really great back then. It took me under his wing and taught me the road to the sale and how important it was, and to not think there was coincidence, chance, or luck. Talked about the negative clicks and all the things which I obviously became a part of at certain times. And in 1999, I had an opportunity. I was running a Chrysler Jeep Plymouth store. Okay.
Ooh.
Right. And we were using this company called Car Research, and they did calls for our unsold customers from our daily log that we wrote stuff down. We faxed it in. And January of 2000, I decided that I didn't want to sell or run or manage the dealerships anymore. So I stepped out. Now, listen, for a lot of us, that's real hard to do. A lot of people try it and they turn around and come right back, right?
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
So I did not, however. So here I am 21 years later, but I went to work for Car Research, and about 6 months after that, we started building a CRM known as Car Research CRM, or XRM today. I was with that company for 11 years. Learned a lot about a lot of different things. And I sold my shares of stock back, walked away, and bought another company called R&D Interactive, a technology company. We built websites, email marketing, had some really big clients, but we were, I gave it the best shot I could. I had two other partners, and we just couldn't, after 9.5 years, sometimes you just got to say, it's time. It's time to look at doing something different. We were undercapitalized anyway, and we were always just barely making it, and we just couldn't get over the threshold. Well, then one of my two partners in that company and I, we decided that, now this is going to sound really strange. We thought, well, okay, I remember having a conversation with him, and we were talking about Steve Jobs. Okay, Steve Jobs. Remember back in 2006, everybody had the smaller was the in thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was really difficult to text, and there was charges for texting and all that kind of stuff. And then 2007, the first iPhone hit the market. Now, there's a big buzz about it, but Steve Jobs created a product that nobody knew they needed or wanted.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what we did here. My partner and I were talking, what is the next big thing? Well, we thought the next big thing was fixed ops. That's what we thought the next big thing was. Everybody has all the cool toys and widgets for the variable side of things to funnel customers down and videos and all that kind of stuff. So we put together a 13-month business plan. My partner flew in from Oregon. I set up 3 meetings in one day in Houston, Texas. By the time the end of the day, when we got to meet with the third guy to pitch our idea, because that's all it was an idea, mock-ups, PowerPoint, etc. The first guy called right before we started the third meeting and said, don't talk to anybody else. I'm in for all the money. January 7th of last year, we started selling, we rolled out our first product. We call it Advantage. And then COVID hit. And it's like, oh my gosh, my friends out there, doors are shutting. And once again, just like back in 2008, service became extremely essential. Of course, service is the backbone of the dealerships anyway, right?
Right.
So we have built a really amazing product in 13 months now. We're almost at 150 dealerships. We are already out of the red and into the black, and all this is going on during COVID.
Nice.
We just had a real passion for what we're doing, and it's just a phenomenal company with Google My Business, SEO. All of our coupons now have embedded videos in them and explaining that. And what we thought was, if you look on some websites, Dave, they still have pictures of scissors cutting out a coupon. Everybody's on these today.
Mm-hmm.
And the money is not made on oil changes anyway. I think it's like 75% of all traffic is oil changes, right?
Right.
And 56% of all ROs are one-liners. The money is in premium services. The money is you don't make money selling tires, but what you get after you sell a client tires is staggering over the next 3 years instead of losing them that following years. So that's what we focused on. We rolled out a product, and what we want to do is revolutionize and weaponize the fixed ops side of things on websites. Now, I'm not a fixed ops guru when it comes to technicians and all that kind of stuff, but what I do know a lot about is marketing, strategic placement, delivering the right content, the right message at the right time, helping to create more lines per RO. And on a website today, really less is more. Mm-hmm. So now in 13 months, we've gone from this base model coupon thing that we have. Now we have a full-blown service website inside of the dealership's existing website. So it's been a tremendous ride. Now, people say, Russell, are you crazy? I said, what do you mean? I said, you're 61 years old and you have an idea and you start a company from scratch. And not only that, but you get somebody else to buy into your dream and give you the money to actually build this thing. And my message to them was, life begins at the edge of your comfort zone. That's where life really begins. Dave, I know you know a lot about what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
If you're comfortable, you become complacent. You just don't really get a lot done. I think people they think it's okay, and to a certain degree it is for a certain period of time. But if you want to stretch and get outside of your comfort zone, there's two types of fear, right? There's fear of what you know and fear of what you don't know. That's it.
Right.
That's it. Some people are so comfortable with what they know, and they know what the consequences are going to be for the things that they do, but they do it anyway because at least they know what the consequences are. Mm-hmm. Well, when you step outside of your comfort zone on the edge and you walk into the unknown, I'll tell you what, it's exhilarating. And people think, well, I don't know what to do. Well, you can never know what to do when you're doing something you haven't done before.
Right.
You got to take a leap of faith. And I'm telling you, there's people on the other side, one of which is like Dave Foy, okay, that say, hey, I like you. I like what you're doing. Let me introduce you to this person. Let me do this. Let me do that, and so
Right.
on and so forth. And next thing you know, it just starts dominoing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned Steve Jobs and the iPhone, and for those that are seeing the little video clips, this is my iPhone 3GS right there, buddy.
Ooh, baby.
Still got
It,
that right here in my drawer.
it does what you need it to do,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. That was
Now now
man.
everybody's going with these great big old
Yeah,
things, right? Yeah.
exactly. Yep. So, um, but you're absolutely right, Russ. The everything starts outside of your comfort zone, and I think sometimes people misconstrue that. Though we're not talking the comfort zone like your house has to have couches made of rocks so that you can't be comfortable. We're not
Right.
talking comfortable. We're talking a comfort zone
That's
where
right.
when you start to step outside of that, when you start to do something like you did, where you said, I'm going to start this company, this is the idea I have for it, rather than, or go back further than that, go when
Yeah.
you walked out of the dealership, you get that, your mind starts thinking differently. You start to see things differently.
It does.
And you know what? For some people, being in their comfort zone is perfectly fine. But as Glenn Lundy said when he was on the FixedOPS Mastermind weekly leaders thing, he was talking about people being comfortable, the most comfortable right before they die, and that's not a place that he wants to be.
I like it. That's a good one.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. So one of the things you just said while you were just talking was that your first mentor told you there's no coincidence, no luck, and I completely believe that. Coincidences and luck happen because you're putting pieces together,
That's right.
and you have those pieces ready for when something happens, and that is what people term as luck. Right, so they term the fact that you get into that other company early as Russ was lucky on that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, Russ made a decision and left that comfort zone and left the dealership world where you could have worked out the rest of your career and made some pretty good money.
Yes.
But I don't consider that luck at all. That was Russ Hill putting himself in a position to take advantage of a situation and not take advantage in a negative way, to take advantage for positive gain in his life of a situation. And I think that's where people kind of look at things wrong when people talk about getting outside of a comfort zone. I think there's too many people that think about that incorrectly.
I do. I agree. And when we talk about success, it's not. I think a lot of people think they correlate success with just money, and it's not. I want success in a lot of areas of my life. So I have many mentors. Since that first one, I realized here's what I realized: the significant problems and challenges that I face today can't be solved at the same level of thinking used to create them.
Right.
Something's got to change.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking, okay, so what has to change? I have to change. Well, how do I affect that change? Well, I know now we've all heard this next one. The definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing, expecting different results. So I believe, this is my own experience, that I'm really a sum total of everything I've ever seen, heard, read, and done up until this moment. If I want to affect change in my life, I'm going to have to do something different. So people say, well, what do you do that's different so you have a different outcome tomorrow or the next day, instead of you look at what somebody did the last 30 days, and if they don't do something different today, you can pretty much bank on what the next 30 days is going to look like. So they say, what did you do? Well, I got mentors. I got people that had something that I wanted instead of everybody having what I have, right? Mm-hmm. And I realized that who I associate with, what I read, and what I listen to is in direct proportion to my output. So if I input new, I'm going to get something new out. If I don't, then I'm going to get the same crap and regurgitate the same stuff over and over again. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. 1,000%. There's a lot of people out there, Russ, that aren't willing to make that effort, though. They want that different outcome, but that different outcome requires some extra work. You and I talked a little bit before we started recording, and I'm still full time at a dealership, doing my 50 plus hours at a dealership, and doing this other stuff, recording these podcasts, editing podcasts, doing the Mastermind Leaders Group on Tuesday nights, the coaching program that I have. All that stuff is outside of the dealership.
Sure.
You have to be willing to put that effort in to get that different result.
That was what you said was really great, and it helps me. Well, here's what I think. There's dream makers and there's dream takers. Those are the only two people out there. I believe that there's why you're doing what you're doing is more important than what or how. If you have a big enough passion and desire, and you have a big enough why, I don't care what it is. Let's say it's a new car, a new Cadillac, let's say. Well, I would say to you, because this is the way I was instructed by mentors, go to a Cadillac store, sit in the car that you want, drive the car that you want. And, people get into a new car and they're really uncomfortable, right? Because it's not theirs. And he said, I want you to go and keep going until you're so comfortable in that car that when you get back in your own car, you go, I'm going to do whatever I got to do to get into that Cadillac. So it's all about the dream. Now, the dream fuels the passion and enthusiasm.
Right.
Okay, that passion and enthusiasm gets you into action. That action produces results. Hence, you reap what you sow. When people take their eye off the why, or it's not big enough, here's what happens. It gets blocked out. The level of passion and enthusiasm wanes. The action isn't what it once was. The results aren't what they were either. So they spiral. Then somebody comes along and ignites that why again. And next thing you know, they're off to races. Then they learn that the whole key to that is tapping into the why.
Right. Yeah. The motivation is fleeting, right? That's motivation is not something that's going to keep you going. Somebody can give you some motivation, but that's going to be temporary. You have to have that passion. You have to have that why to drive you. And you said something big right there, that it's not always big enough. Right. People, that's in my vision and values coaching program. That's one of the things that I talk about is you need to have a vision for your team that is so massive that the vision of everybody else in that team can fit within it. So they have to be able to see the visions of their lives, what they want from their lives, both career and personal,
exactly,
fit within the vision that you have set for that company. And you need to treat your own life exactly the same way. Exactly. It has to be a big vision, and it has to be. And I will tell you that until fairly recently, I did not do this. I was not specific enough with what that vision was. The vision of I want to have a house at a lake. That's great. It's not specific enough.
No,
it's not. Find the lake. Find the amount of money you want to spend on that house. Find what you want that house to look like. Put it on that vision board. It needs to be a very specific outcome, and you got to put a date with it, right? Because otherwise, it's not a vision. It's just a dream. That's all it is.
There were some things that earlier when I was first getting started with a mentor, so I could continually crystallize what I wanted and how I was going to go about it. And he was, I guess you call him a life coach too, just kind of like the stuff you're doing. So I went to FedEx Kinko's, and I had this. It was probably 3 feet by 1 foot. It was a banner, and I put it up on my ceiling at night. So that was the last thing I looked at when I went to bed, and the first thing I looked at when I got up, because if it is to be, it's up to me. Mm-hmm. And it really worked. I used to, I don't do it anymore, but I'd put pictures on my refrigerator of things that I wanted, and they were sprinkled throughout the house. And it's not just that. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with this right here.
Yeah.
And I don't think people really know that. So we're taught from a very early age to trade our time for money, and instead of how to make money work for us.
Yes.
And I know the more that you make, okay, you could really, whatever you're doing up till that, it's like there's a big, tremendous responsibility that I have, that you have, that we all have, because it's not ours. It's temporary. It comes to us and it stays in our pocket, and then it leaves us. And what we do with that has severe ramifications on that why, on that dream that we're chasing.
Yeah, the money's just the vehicle. That's all it is. It's just the vehicle. It's not gonna be there forever. Just like we're not gonna be there forever. It is the same as any energy in this life. It's flowing through us, and where we direct it to has a, as you said, a massive impact on what your why is, and how your why is going to manifest yourself.
It does. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that at the end, when if your vision is to have $1 million and somebody plops $1 million into your lap, if you weren't happy then, you're not going to be happy now. You're just going to be an unhappy person with $1 million.
That's right. And whatever you did with your money up until that point in time, all it's going to do is exacerbate that money. That $1 million just cut, and you're going to end up losing it all anyway. So I was sitting there, it made me think that 26 years ago, I had an epiphany in my life, and you call it crossroads, whatever you want to, and there needed to be some very significant things change in my life. And up until that point in time, and even to this day, it still happens, not as much as it used to, but people, I'm really careful about who I talk to, and I don't necessarily, I think of people as trees, okay? If there's fruit on the tree, I'll listen to what they have to say. If the branches are bare, I don't, I'll try to move them in a particular direction. And after a few minutes, if they just remain negative and talking about the past, then it's time for Russell to move on. Because all my life, Dave, and that's true for your listeners, for you, people said, Russell, you can't do that. I tried that, or that won't work. And they got interrupted by somebody who just did, because it wasn't even about me. It was about that I chose to do something different, step outside of my comfort zone, and that rattled their comfort zone. Right. They saw I was doing something, and they're looking over their shoulder. What if I would have done that? I don't want that for my life.
As you said, there's dream makers and dream takers, right? So there's people who are just going to be there to try and tear you down.
Amen.
But before we go too deep for people on the mindset path, the foo-foo stuff that that people have trouble with, that is also one of the first things that we go over in the vision and values coaching is mindset, because it all starts there. Without the proper mindset, I don't give a shit what you do, you're not getting anywhere. So let's get back to your area of expertise and marketing. So what are some of the things that you see that people are doing wrong? Not necessarily even just in the fixed ops space, just in I mean, you're on LinkedIn. People are obviously marketing themselves on LinkedIn and things. What are some of the common things that you see that people mistake as a good marketing ploy or message?
I think that sometimes people are focusing too much on selling, and it's not just about selling. You have to offer something to people. When talking to somebody like you or an owner, it boils down to three things. What is it? What does it do? And what's in it for me? And you really have to address those things in pretty short order. Nobody has time. Time is extremely valuable, and they don't want their time wasted. And since COVID, it makes it really difficult to get in front of people personally. Even in one of your Tuesday night FixedOPS Mastermind, right? There's I think this is where I got this, but before COVID, Zoom meetings, GoToMeetings, all those types of things, they were kind of like, oh, well, if I make it, I make it. If I don't, I don't, whatever. Now it's become a mainstay. It's not going away.
Right.
Okay. Other things aren't going away, and you need to offer value, not just a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It has to have some value, not only to them but their customers. It needs to be a win-win situation, and whatever it is, if you can, and I think Ed Roberts said this, you're going to have to save them time. If
Mm-hmm.
you're going to cost them time, they're already shut down. They're not even listening,
Right.
and they're willing to pay for things if
Mm-hmm.
it's something that's extremely valuable and it saves them time. That's what everybody's looking for today: is how can I save some time and be more productive?
Yeah, well, that was certainly a lesson that that the smarter dealerships learned during COVID was that that is what people value, is their time,
It is.
and they don't want to sit in our dealerships. They don't want to sit in the waiting room, whether you have massage chairs or you make them a latte or whatever else it is that you have there. They don't want to be there.
No,
They want to be somewhere else.
they do.
And that's why a lot of these other things, pickup and delivery and those type of services, got accelerated into the future. As I watched a show the other night called "Living in the Future's Past." I thought it was a genius title. So
Interesting.
yeah, so
Living
that's
in, what is it again?
living in the future's past. So you're present.
Wow.
So
Yeah, that sounds pretty deep in itself.
well, that's why I watched it, because I'm like, well, that's a deep title. Should be a cool show. But that's what happened to the dealerships, right? They got accelerated so that the future was now the present. This pickup and delivery thing that people talked about that maybe will come around and maybe some people will do it. Now you have to offer that.
It's mainstay.
Mm-hmm.
And do you think it's going away? I don't think it's going away.
No, it's not going away.
No.
It's going to get more and more. I think you'll actually see it more prevalent as COVID starts to become under control and people are less afraid of somebody else, being in their car and things. Then you'll have in my area, we don't have a ton of demand for pickup and delivery, but that is what the objection is I don't really want somebody coming to my house, getting my car, driving my car. They're okay with a technician spending a little bit of time in it working on their car, but not somebody driving it 20 minutes, a half hour to and from the dealership.
Sure.
So I think as COVID starts to become under control, it's gonna keep going up. There'll be more people that are looking for that type of service.
I agree. Some of the things we're talking about right now are some of the things that we as a company are doing on social media. We don't just talk about our product. We want people to know who we are, but we want to switch it up. So we talk about things of value, mm-hmm. like what they're doing. So examples of best practices of people doing their website, not necessarily just with fixed operations. For example, less is more on websites today. And everybody has all these menu tabs or content pages at the top.
Yep.
And I look at them all day, every day. So you're clicking on a particular menu and it drops down and you got 20 things in there. Okay, I'm beyond 7 or 8. Customers get anxiety. We know this from mm-hmm. exhaustive research. So these are the types of things that we talk about and put out there. Other types of information for FixedOPS marketing, and not just about what we do as an end. That's not what it's about. It's overall. It's just an educational thing. Like websites are like a dog. People put up websites all the time. Somebody new comes in, they go with a different website vendor, whatever the case may be, and they think, oh, well, they got this relationship. But when I say websites are like a dog, they are. A lot of people think, well, I just put a website up and it's supposed to work. No. A dog, you have to water it, you have to feed it, you have to take it out and play with it. You got to bathe it, you got to give it shots, you got to pay attention to it in all these different areas. So. Right. You need to do the same thing with the websites, and this is exactly the stuff we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you talk about having drop downs upon drop downs. I was on another dealer's website the other day, looking for the staff page, and look, I had a very specific thing that I'm going there to try and find, mm-hmm. and man, I had a hard time finding it. Like I know exactly where it should be. I'm on a dealership's website. I know exactly where it should be, and I had a hard time finding it. Now you put yourself in a customer's shoes who is not on that type of website every day. You know, and they get decision fatigue. You know, we talked about that in an early podcast with Damon Egan, and all the decisions that I think he had 13 at his dealership that he counted from when they pull off the street to before they get in the service drive. They had 13 decisions they had to make, you know, from simple things like which service lane do I pull into, which, you know, all of that type of thing. It's the same thing on a website. They've gone to the website, they've typed in the address, and now they've got decisions to make. I'm trying to make an appointment. Do I click on this? Do I click on hours? Do I click, you know, where do I click? And the harder you make it, the more you're going to lose them.
Exactly. So we know for everybody out there, including yourself, that everybody's probably heard the term heat mapping on where people are clicking on their website. Well, we know people read, you know, top to bottom, left and right. We know that the new and used vehicles are always usually in the first two top left side. Now, I think today that you should have a specials tab before new and used, or at least right after new and used. And this is important because everybody's looking for specials. It may not even be that special, but it represents that maybe it is. And this is where the dealerships, all four of their profit centers are located, or should be, new and used and parts and service.
Yep.
And they fail dismally in that area. That's like the website is more like in when you call the dealership and they're hello, you know, or they leave you on hold, you know, indefinitely, or they disconnect you, or I mean, that has an indelible impact on what they think about that dealership and doing business. When they're surfing around, if they can't find stuff, and when they finally get there, it's not enticing. There's nothing special about it. Or how about this? There's nothing there, Dave.
Yeah.
There's nothing there.
Yeah, there's plenty of websites that you go on that are just those generic websites, right? Yep. That's, you know, you've seen them on every dealership, and you know, it's just it's like SEO pages instead of actual. You know, it's you're on the Utopia Ford site from Topeka, Kansas, and the whole thing just says, you know, Topeka, Kansas over and over again, and you know all of that stuff, instead of actually telling you about the dealership and the person that started the dealership, and you know, to tell the story.
I think it's real important, and you know, the stuff that we're talking about, I think it don't matter. It doesn't make any difference what department you work in. It's really all applicable. You're going to have obstacles. You're going to have roadblocks, and you have to continue to learn and adapt and overcome and be willing to make changes, or you're going to keep getting. And when I'm saying this and the things we're talking about, this is what's going on right now. All over the country, people are starting to realize, particularly on the fixed operation side of things.
Looney Tunes.
Things have to change, Dave.
Yeah,
things have to change, and they realize that now. It's become so prevalent in talking with you and what you're doing and all the things you're involved with, and the webinars and the podcast, the things that people are talking about. Everybody gets it now. And it's not just the dealerships, the manufacturers are starting to pay attention to fixed operations.
Yes.
We talked about this the other night on your webinar, that things are transitioning from sales to fixed operations.
Mm-hmm. And even fixed operations selling cars out of the drive.
Yeah.
So, yeah, awesome stuff. Russ, I think that's a perfect place for us to step off. That it's just an awesome conversation. I could chat with you all night about stuff. So I really want to thank you for being here, spending some time with us, telling us about a little bit about FixedOPS Marketing. You guys are doing some great things. The video coupons are very, very cool.
Thank you.
I'll say it again. I still haven't trademarked it. They're infopons, not coupons. To me, with the stuff that you have in them, it's way more than just $10 off. It's giving you a whole boatload of information about the actual service that you're looking at. So
it really is. Right before we leave here, I got a quote from somebody. I've heard it but they say that by next year, 2022, that 80% of all consumption will be videos.
Wow.
And so we're just trying to get ahead of the curve. And I don't care if it's fixed operations or I mean, videos is it. Look at YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, for heaven's sake, if I need to fix a shower or something, I go to YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
There's explicit instructions.
It's the how-to channel.
It is. It is. Thank you so much for inviting me on and chit-chatting with me. I really, really appreciate what you're doing. Is so awesome. And I'm a hand raiser. I'm a believer that you're shaking and moving mountains and getting people excited about what they're doing and affecting change. When it really boils down to it, it's not just about the product or what we do, it's how we interact with other people. Everything is about relationships, and we're so connected. And I really believe in the Zig Ziglar philosophy, which is something that you practice. You help enough other people get what they want, you're going to get what you want.
Absolutely. That is so true. So true. Well, Russell, again, thank you for being with us. It was an awesome conversation.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Have a great night.
You too.